In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight we have a very special guest. We've got Mr. Kendrick Love Sr. with us. Kendrick Love is an experienced behaviorist with a strong background in supporting individuals facing autism spectrum disorders, developmental disabilities, trauma, addiction, depression, and other behavioral challenges. He has collaborated extensively with parents, educators, school leaders, and first responders in the U.S. and internationally. His expertise in crisis management, de-escalation strategies, and positive behavior support has been honed through diverse experiences, including assisting children and adults during the COVID-19 pandemic in Kuwait. With a master's in educational leadership, a bachelor's in recreational therapy, and an upcoming doctorate in child behavior psychology, Kendrick has a solid foundation in behavioral sciences. His role at the American School of Kuwait and Cobb County School District's Haven Academy further demonstrates his ability to develop behavior plans, analyze data, and train educators. He has also presented on student and teacher behavior strategies in the 2020 mini NESA and invited pre-pandemic to present pre-pandemic to present at a major NESA conference in Thailand. Kendrick is certified in Mindset LSCI, mental health coaching, RBT, CBT, and CPR and first aid, showcasing his commitment to best practices. Passionate about promoting positive behavior and fostering growth in homes, schools, and communities, Kendrick is dedicated to empowering children and young adults to succeed in all areas of life. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to bring to the show Mr. Kendrick Sr. How you doing, sir?
It's a pleasure. How y'all doing?
Your camera's not on.
Why is my camera? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, sir, I can hear you.
I don't know why my camera. I don't think I'm wondering if I didn't. I don't understand why my camera's not working.
Okay.
You mean? Let's see. Hold on a second. Let me make sure. Okay, there we go.
Yes, sir. Now I see you. So, how are you? And welcome to the show. Okay, you're kind of choppy.
Oh gosh. Right. Give me 1 second. I'm going to switch cameras.
Okay.
Can you
Yes,
hear
sir,
me
I can hear
better?
you.
Okay. I don't understand why it's just all right. It was fine up until I decided to start talking. Let's see if I
Okay,
can.
this is your the new camera.
What's going on? I have no idea. I have no idea. Okay. So, let's see. All right, is that better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please excuse me. I have no idea. As I was trying to, it's
It's no,
unfortunately.
it's no problem. It's no problem.
Okay.
Is there anything you'd like to add to your bio before we show?
No, that's good. I've given enough attention to myself so far. Talking about who I am. I'm good. I don't ever do well with talking about myself anyway. So my
Well,
experiences, but nothing. Yeah.
well, let's let's hop into it, and let's first start out in talking about entrepreneurship because with you being an entrepreneur, can you tell us what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
I couldn't get. I was solving stuff in the school system, but I was not able to go and do as much as I wanted to do. So
Mhm.
I just said, hey, it's time to go and start doing it yourself, or doing it. If you want to do it your way, then you're going to have to get your own business. So,
Mhm. And so, but
and
with that in mind, I'm sorry. Say that again.
oh, nothing. Am I still
Okay.
choppy?
Um, no, not no. You're not.
Okay.
Can you tell us what challenges did you face when starting your business?
My business is unknown. Uh, the behavioral health and is a field that's growing, but there is what people know about behavioral health. They don't know that there's so much more. And as science increases, and as the strategies increase, and the necessity for behavioral science is increasing, so people have seen what I do. They just don't know that that's actually behavioral science that's done. Let's use for a great example. If you watch Silence of the Lambs,
Mhm.
Clarice, that's in behavioral science. Criminal
Mhm.
Minds,
Mhm.
those types of things. But you really wasn't putting them into school systems and working with children. So I started working in a behavioral in a school program that was for behavioral children struggling from behavioral issues, and it can have been just a variety of kids. So the difficulty was getting people to understand that I'm not a therapist. This is not counseling. This is not this is not any of those types of things. This is actually what works with them unilaterally. So I always go and say the best analogy that I can give is think of Batman. You take away his suit, you take away all of that stuff about Batman, and you just look at here it is. He's studying situations. He's trying to solve problems. He's so that when he goes into a situation, he's equipped for how to use psychological strategies, understanding the situation. So that when you go into what you would really say with Batman is he's constantly going into crises. He's going to solve crisis after crisis. And so that's kind of the best way. Sherlock Holmes. So that kind of stuff. So it's difficult until you start understanding it.
So, how did you develop the vision for Kendrick Love Behavior Consulting?
Uh, it really, first of all, I didn't want it to be Kendrick Love Behavior Consulting. I didn't want the name. I actually wanted it a different name, but when I was starting my business, they said you can't have these names tied to your business. So I was like, okay. So I had to choose something right in the moment. So my lady and I, we said, because she's the business manager of it, and we just said, just put Kendrick Love for right now. And we never went back to change it. So that's how anytime anything that has my name on it is just because let me just stick with that right now and then we'll come back.
Well,
That's
I
I got
mean, I think that's good for branding, don't you think?
Mhm. It's just again, I don't care because it's my name on it. I'm like, oh goodness, now let's find something else. That's basically really what it was. I don't do too well talking about myself, but that's because of the times that I paid so much attention to myself, I missed key things about when I'm trying to help a child.
Okay. So,
So that's the point. So I'm always ego.
so what has been the most rewarding aspect of running your own business? Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you froze. Yes, sir. I can hear you. The
I don't
question
know what's
was, what?
going on because usually my
Saying, what has been the most rewarding aspect of running your own business?
Solving it my way, and it's worked. Solving it my way, and better than it works. It's the system that I'm working on has worked. High success rate.
Okay. So, how do you balance business growth with staying true to your mission?
Watching watching parents, watching family, the
So, but with that, you took money out of it.
yeah. I'm sorry, ask your question again, because this internet is just acting up and it's making it difficult for us to communicate. Please excuse me.
I was just the last question I asked was, how do you balance business growth with staying true to your mission? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, but like you're still frozen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, we're gonna make it. It's just that unfortunate. So right now when I'm trying to use other devices, but for some reason.
I tell you what, with the technical difficulties, Mr. Love, can you hear me?
All right, is this better?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you now. I had to switch devices because I think.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry.
So,
All right, excuse
what
me. I think
advice?
that maybe was. Hello?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Um, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs?
The YouTube tab was on.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I have no idea. I can't help this. This doesn't normally happen, so that's why I'm like, okay.
Do you
All right.
want to let's because of technical difficulties, would you like to Let's reschedule.
Well, because I hate to, we've wasted so much time trying to get to this point, and I think I'm better now. I think that I'm on a new device. Does it sound like it's better now?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's okay. We can keep on going. Please excuse me and your audience.
Okay.
All of this hitting now. So, like,
so what advice would you
really,
give to aspiring entrepreneurs?
If you're entrepreneurs, I would definitely say keep pushing. There's going to be a lot of people that if you're doing the unknown, it's going to be much difficult. So if you're pioneering in the work that you're doing, you got to push forward, push straight through it. If you have to believe in yourself. That's the number one thing, because there's going to be there's a lot of people who's going to have their opinions, and especially in this climate right now, everybody has their strong opinions. Everybody's going to think they know better than you. If you know what you want, go for it. The world needs your type of expression. If you definitely feel like what you have to give is value, keep going. Don't stop. It is going up a hill, but if you really, really think that you want it, then you have to deal with the discipline. You have to deal with the consequences of it.
So how do you approach leadership within your organization?
Oh gosh. Well, because I'm definitely, I love it. I love sharing. So I love organizing so I don't think that I'm the person that, okay, when I walk in a room, I'm going to be the one that's going to be running it. What I'm the type of person is, I'm the person that would organize the leaders and we all come to a consensus. So it's not where my leadership is for myself, the confidence. Like I was probably about a year or two ago, I was struggling with imposter syndrome. And because of the success and the more success that I've had, is definitely where I'm much more confident in the words that I'm saying. I'm much more confident. I'm not going to offend anyone, because that's where it really was coming down to, is like, make sure that you don't offend anyone. Mm-hmm. So that was probably the hardest part of definitely working my leadership, of learning the leadership skills.
So what role does innovation play in your business strategy?
Oh gosh, AI. AI is here. Mm-hmm. And what it is, have to learn how to use AI. AI has been an excellent excellent research partner. AI has definitely been an excellent second opinion. So if I need an opinion of situations, I go to my particular AI. I call him Jarvis, just like from Iron Man. And I go there and I sit there and I go and I talk to him. But I also have plenty of colleagues, so I go to them as well. But the first person is Jarvis, and then if I'm not satisfied, I go to my colleagues and we're talking. Then it'll come to a consensus. So innovation for AI has definitely been the thing. It's coming, so it's here.
But with all that innovation, so like, how does it play like a really major significant role as to how your organization functions?
Yes.
Or is it like you just use it when you need it?
Both. So it definitely helps. It helped me organize my business. Mm-hmm. You have to, but the thing about it is you have to know how to ask it correctly, because what I tell everybody is that AI is a child. You can sit here, you can manipulate AI to sit here and respond on to almost anything that you really want. It can almost give you all kinds of answers. So the one thing you have to do is you have to be careful on how to ask it correctly, because it will answer your question completely wrong, but you're thinking it's right. So like for case in point, when I'm doing cases and I need help with a student or a child, I'm gonna say when I need help with the ideas of a child, I have to be careful on how to ask for advice correctly, or it'll give me a completely wrong answer. And I've stopped a lot of people when they came in, they did studies on, I'm gonna say not studies, but when they went onto the AI and they said, hey, I need some help with AI. And then they come back and tell, okay, well, AI said it's ADHD and this is what I need to do. And I said, AI is only answering what it thinks you're saying. That's not exactly. So that's why you need to come to the professional, because your AI just gave you bad advice. So, but that's only because it's knowing only because of the way you're asking the questions. You're not understanding behaviorism well enough to ask the right question. So that's why I help you out. I help that person out on how to ask the correct question to get the answer.
Okay. So, how do you handle setbacks and failures in your entrepreneurial journey?
Practice until I get it right. There isn't any. The setbacks are only, they're needed because it keeps me real. It keeps it to where, okay, the failure is here. The setbacks, my setback really are just bumps, but real setbacks is, okay, I failed this child. So I cannot really have a real setback. I can only have bumps in the road, because if I have a setback, that means I failed this family. I failed this child. And that means that now it's a disaster, because when people come to me, they have gone to everybody. They have gone to psychiatrists. They've gone to doctors. They've gone to schools. They've probation officers. They've taken the kid. They've had the kids arrested. They've been in mental hospitals. They've been in all of these places before they get to me. So my setback can't be the same as an average setback. My setback has to be, all right, I didn't figure this out. All right, so let's figure this out. Let's figure the way through this. So that's where my setbacks are.
And so, what are your long-term goals for your business?
My long-term goal is, in truth, and this is a real goal. My goal by the time I'm 70 years old is to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, well, I love that. I love that. Why the Nobel Peace Prize? Because I'm sure that that's more than just reachable for you, but why the Nobel?
Because when I lived out of the country, there's a few things that I learned. And one thing I learned is I did not know that Martin Luther King spread that much. I had no idea. I had no idea that he was required reading in Saudi Arabia. I had no clue about that. I'm talking to this old Arab, and he was from Saudi Arabia. He could barely speak English. We're riding, and he's taking me around to get my documents, and we're talking. And he says, "You ever read Roots?" And I was like, "Yeah, I read Roots one a long time ago." And then he's like, "Okay, and have you read Malcolm X?" And I was like, "No, I didn't know." I'm gonna say, "Yeah, I know I didn't read the book Malcolm X, but I'm familiar through the movie." And he was like, "Yeah, that's a required reading." And I was like, and Martin Luther King. And I was like, "So our civil rights leaders are required reading in Saudi Arabia?" He says, "Yes, yes." And so being out in the world, seeing that being a celebrity in America don't mean anything compared to when you are a scholar. When you are out there, it's not so much your education, but your field work is where it really matters. And if you really to travel globally and to watch so many people succeed, being exposed to so much success, it was like, okay, your biggest thing right now, aim for Nobel Peace Prize, aim for it. And I don't care for winning it. I want the nomination. I don't care for winning it. That's right. I want the nomination.
I'm sure if you're nominated, you're going to win. And I'm going to tell you why you're going to win. It's because I'm listening to your humbleness and your genuality as to the work that you do. And I think those are the things that carry a long ways, because that displays an enormous amount of character. And so, which was leading to this question that I have for you is, with the work that you do with the kids, for those people that are watching right now, there could be potential clients or people that may need some help. What are they going to get from you? Let them know what they are going to get from you and what you provide.
Yes. Excellent question, because that's the foundation, that question. The first thing first is, if you're going to come to me, don't bring just your child. I work with you as well. You cannot come to me. I will not take you. If you thinking that you only going to bring your child, you're wasting the time of your child as well as yourself. Not my time, it's yours. And the biggest reason why I say that is because, again, behavioral science is way bigger than it's presented. And the best ways I can say is just go watch Criminal Minds, go watch Silence of the Lambs. You go watch those things and you get a chance to see. But then actors also have to study behavior as well to understand how to actually portray the character. So it's out in the open. It's just that we did not know how much it's needed until now, where every single thing that we've been using is not working as well. So when a parent comes to me, I say, let me teach you first on the behavior. Let me teach you about your child's behavior. Let's locate your child's behavior so that when you leave me, you don't have it to where, okay, you're waiting for the next session. You have strategies. You understand. You can see, okay, well, here's the problem. Because like the last mom I just talked to, who's now wanted to be she's a single mom, and she called me and she was talking about her son. And the same thing I said to her, I said, Mom, let me make sure. I just want to let you know, I don't just work with your child. If you're feeling that I should just work with your child, then I'm not the person for you. But let me make sure anybody you run to, they're going to say to you, especially young black male, they're going to say ADHD and meds. And she said, and I said, what did they say about your son? ADHD and meds. Exactly. So they're going to do that. And you're going to run to systems, and that each system, the reason they're failing is not because they're not capable of helping your child, but they are a component of helping your child, because there's a statement that we always say that we don't understand. I understand it because of working in the system, which is it takes a village. It literally takes a village to raise your child. So if you're running straight to just a psychiatrist, it's not going to work as well. You just running straight to him going to football class. I'm gonna say football, join a sports team, and then you're like, my child is still having behavior problems. That's because there's a whole plethora of things that also is needed. So when they come to me, I start teaching the parents how to read their child's behavior, but not only the child's, but theirs. Let's break down your parenting strategies. I don't judge a parent. I don't tell them good parenting, bad parenting. I don't do any of those things. If a parent whipping their child behind, what I do is I don't tell them not to whip their child behind. I say, let's go with some other strategies. If you whip your child behind 3 times in the past, especially in the past month, then we need to go and see what else, because the whipping is not working. And let me show you the damages of your whipping is doing. So let me show you. So each time you whip your child and you don't use this strategy, I want you to know this is how you're hurting your child. I don't tell you not to, but I want to put that responsibility in your hands. So if your child is whipping, your child has been screaming and throwing stuff across the room and screaming, just like I talked to a parent and her child was scratching a teacher's hand. And you're right. And so when I talk to mom and I says, okay, mom, and we're recognizing the pattern, I say, actually, your child is hypersensitive. Your child is hypersensitive. I think your child is hypersensitive to emotion because of the descriptions that she was giving me in the child's behavior. And so I said, so what's happening is I bet $1 million that the teacher that she's dealing with is overwhelmed and giving off a lot of negative emotions. She's going through a lot of things. And so when mom talked to the teachers, because she had 2 teachers in the classroom, she said that's exactly what was happening. I said, yeah. And I said, so what's happened is that the teacher just needs to change up the way the teacher is feeling. Like she's got to, because this girl is 4 years old. So we have to change up the way she's been able to feel the emotion from the teacher. Not saying that the teacher, not taking away what the teacher's going through is not valid, but this child sees this emotion as a threat. So when the teacher comes in and disciplines her, the child fights her back. So that was the point. So now the child's behavior has completely changed and now is being far much more functional in class because the teacher changed the relationship with her and the child. That does not mean that the child does not deal with consequences for scratching. So the child still gets consequences. So that's why I let them know. No, she scratched. But the fact of the matter is that what we have to do is put something else in place, which is called restitution, Let's put some other things in place so that we can make sure that this child doesn't scratch anymore. We need to make sure that this child learns how to communicate when she's upset. But we also need to know that the teacher, her what she's going through is affecting. So that child, and I said to the mom, I said, so let's make sure, so your child is saying, I need you to feel better so that I can feel better. I need it. So if you're not feeling better, I'm going to feel bad. So I need you to feel better. So when I'm feeling this emotion, it's fueling me for my emotion. And so that's the point of where we have to understand the child's behavior.
So, so as as your business is moving along and you're getting the clients that you get, can you tell us, are you doing any work? Are there any clients of yours that from underserved and marginalized communities?
Homeless? Yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I took a book to one mom. They just made it from being homeless and she's trying to find work. So I took her a book so that she can help get a job, so that she can study to get a higher paying job. So, yes, I've had the opportunity to work with almost every type of family. I've worked from families who are homeless, families who've been locked up, all the way up till billionaires and multimillionaires and billionaires. So I've worked with all types of families, all demographics, races, whites, blacks, Arabs, Asians, Hispanics. I've worked with single moms, single fathers, successful lawyers, police officers, but also just stay at home. I've had a wide range of people I've worked with.
So, can you tell us this, with the diversity of the clients that you get? What are some of the most common issues that you find that actually link all of those different communities together? Can you explain?
Yeah, children it don't matter. Children, actually, the richer you are, the more isolated the child is. But isolation is the leading factor of every child's problem right now because of the isolation. In other words, we adults are doing so bad at getting along that we're teaching our kids how not to get along, because a child's basic nature is socialization. A child learns socially more than any other way. Children playing learns, like the first 5 years of that child's life, actually probably the first 10 years of that child's life, they're learning so much through just play alone. And so everybody across every spectrum, especially when the pandemic hit, because I was not even in the country. I was working in child behaviors when the pandemic hit, and watching wealthy kids just tank, watching poor kids tank, watching all of their behaviors tank. And I was getting like at least 3 times a week of some kid that was suicidal. And so it's the isolation that's tearing up the socialization. Like we're all old enough to remember we used to go outside and play out on the street. You stayed outside till the street lights came on. You had that old lady sitting on the stairs, or you had some people that's standing outside to say they're going to watch you play. Mama didn't come out the door to come and look at you. Why? Because we trusted the community enough to where that child can go and play. How many of us guys traveled miles away from home, going anywhere? You grab your boys or your brothers or your siblings, and y'all walking miles away from home and coming back. This day and age, you can't do that. That's a high risk because you have no telling of what's going to happen. The threats are you can't see them so much that you have no idea where they're coming. Where we're raising our kids in that atmosphere. Schools are being shut. I mean, right now, not even schools are safe. So we're actually having it to where we have to have a resource officer in the school in case somebody comes in to just shoot up schools. So we have this big problem of where we're not allowing kids to be kids anymore. That is across the board.
So, in your opinion, what do you think was the effect of COVID on the socialization of kids, but people in general in that time where everything went to lockdown? What is your opinion as to what caused this issue?
What I would say is that because of living outside of the country, our narrative in America is that we push isolation. Out there, when isolation hit, the only ones that were really hit hard were the upper class kids. Mm-hmm. When you had it to where lower class, when you had kids that were poor and all of those, they dealt with it way better. But with the upper classes, because the more that we go, what I've learned is that the higher that we get in our success, the more isolated we do with our kids, or we take them to controlled environments. So we'll take them to a play area, or we'll take them to, we'll pay for them to go and play this, or having play dates. When do you remember having play dates when you were your age, when you were the age? So right, exactly. So what we did during COVID, let me just make sure to say this here, because I've said this to people. In education, majority of people in education, teachers and everybody who's been working, already seen that this type of problem with children were coming. Mm-hmm. COVID just sped it up for maybe about between 3 to 7 years. This was coming. That's why COVID was that's why it happened so easily when COVID hit, because of the directions that the school were going in anyway. This was going to be happening. There was already violence in schools, and it was increasing. How do I know? It's because my job was to deal with the violence in schools. I was in intensive interventions. I was the first responder. So I was that person that you would call to deal with the behaviors. And so when you're sitting in, and I also dealt with the data. So when you're looking at the evolution and the changing of children's behaviors, you're like, oh my God. And you can definitely see there's no way to stop this because there weren't any real intervention society was doing to change the situation. So you knew this was coming. Mm-hmm. So that's why. So yeah, it wasn't really COVID. COVID just sped up what was coming.
Okay. And so let's pivot to your mentorship. What motivated you to become a mentor?
Oh gosh. I came from a single parent home, and I grew up the entire time listening to, I have to say, Black women, but I had to listen and please sound, and it's not meaning to sound sexist. If it does, it's not intended, but the majority of the ladies I came growing up being told that I wasn't needed. I don't need a man. And I believed that. So I was like, okay, well, you don't need it. Well, what ended up happening is that I'm a second generation to my mother. My mother was a dancer, and I started dancing also. Not because of her, but I had a crush on a girl, and so to get in the dance class, the teacher, let me correct that. I had a crush on the teacher as well as the girl. And so the girl, so the teacher during my 12th grade, she says, hey, you want to join dance? And I was like, no, I don't think I'm in. The girl, she walked past the door in a leotard. And I said, well, I'm gonna give this a try. So that's what got me into dance, and it kept me in dance long enough. So God knew what he was doing by getting me through the door. And because that, I learned I loved dance. I loved art. I loved it. It was therapy to me. So art is the cheapest therapy. So what I ended up doing is that I started teaching it in a underprivileged summer camp. And when I did that, I started recognizing the influence I had with young males. And I said, wow, that was where my first light came on of my value. And then when I started recognizing my value, I sat there and said, okay, wait a minute. probably about a few years later, as I kept working with kids, I started recognizing, no, I am needed. And then after that, I said, well, and I still stuck with, well, women don't need me, so they don't need me, so that's cool. And then as I kept working and I started seeing the help that I was giving and the responses that mothers was giving because of the work that I was doing with the child, it's like, okay, so women don't need me, but moms need me. And so then that's when I started working some more. And then I started learning how to start speaking to ladies differently and start being much more feeling confident in myself, but also speaking confidence to the lady. And then that's when I recognized, I said, no, society needs me. Society needs me. And so I recognized and I found my value. And when I found my value in what I'm doing and the work that I'm doing, I started recognizing other brothers. And I started looking at all the other brothers, my other Black men, and what they're doing. And I started saying, no. Society needs Black men. We're needed. I'm looking at it and I'm like, and when I see the data of every single time that you can tell when a brother shows up in a picture, you're like, no. There's a true necessity. You start paying attention to history and you start seeing, like my boy Frederick Douglass, and you're like, oh, no. This brother was bad. Wait a minute, hold up. So the whole idea is that you're seeing. So once I started recognizing my power and started recognizing my value and started recognizing brothers' values, that's when I started being able to say, okay, wait a minute, we are needed. And I started being able to communicate to ladies a lot much differently, where I can be helpful, those types of things. So yeah, but it started off. I remember the first time I heard that I wasn't needed was from Def Comedy Jam. It was during the 1990s. And I remember one comedian, she gets up on the stage and says, this is the 90s. We don't need y'all men no more. And I was like, oh, okay. So what do I do now? So now I speak so now what I do is I speak to young men and I help them find their meaning, what they like to do. So it's not, and we're not going to sports. Let's find some stuff for you. It's okay that you can be a garbage man. It's okay that you can see that you be in construction. It's okay to be a mechanic. I know society is speaking against that, but find something that you feel that's meaningful for you. Let's go volunteer. You can go walk a dog if you want to. It's okay. So that's what I do. That's what I do now. And so when I talk to moms, I let them know, I say, well, here's what's damaging. So let me make sure to let you understand. Experience. I've been working with kids. So one thing I need y'all to make sure is to start organizing these things in your child's life. That's why I say it's not just one thing.
So how do you define mentorship and why is it important?
Mentorship is very important. It is especially because it's part of the village. And the thing about it is with mentorships also, what I love about mentorship, it keeps you honest. It keeps you present. You understand that if you're a mentor, you make mistakes. And because of that, you're patient enough to go and pay attention to the person that pay attention to the mistakes of the people that you're helping. You know, if you are a mentor, then you already know that no one is perfect in this situation. No one. And so you give yourself the grace to make the mistakes, and you give yourself that person to make the mistakes. And we figure out how to get through that mistake together. So if I got a mom, I have plenty of moms that has done abusive things to the kids. Let's figure it out. And then when we're talking, the beautiful thing is that I love it is when a mom says, okay, I was mean to my child. I really was. I say, yeah, but it's okay. But we're going to figure this out together. So it's not going to be just you anymore. And it's not going to be just you and me. We're going to figure out how to put things together so we can make sure that you're safe. But dads are like, hey, the dads, especially the single dads, that's what they're already doing. They're putting together things. That's kind of what they're doing. So it's a difference.
So what qualities do you believe make a great mentor?
Patience. Patience and not being afraid to learn. Two things that you got to have. You got to have patience and not being afraid to learn. You don't fear asking questions.
So when they say, like, you know, because I think that's really good, and that's like right where it needs to be, which is right there. That is, when you say not be afraid to learn, can you expound on that a little bit more and tell us, like, what do you mean by that?
Ego. Ego. I'm gonna use myself. I'm gonna try not to get emotional. It's my driving force. So there's a young man. His name is Ian Hopgood. And what makes him so special is that anybody can look this up on YouTube. It's Chadwick Boseman. If you ever seen the video where Chadwick Boseman starts crying and he talks about two young men,
Yes,
his name is Ian. And we contacted Chadwick to tell him that Ian passed. The thing about I got Chadwick to come in to see Ian because Ian what ended up happening is that Ian ended up with a deadly tumor, and I still keep up with his mom. And so what happened is that, again, I was a responder in the schools, and so Ian was one of them that I had to go to all the time to go and work with. And so I was the man. So Mr. Love at the school, oh, I was the man. You call me, I dealt with the worst cases. I was the person. Man, I was running kids down, and I was, I was all of that stuff there, and I was getting compliments of the way I was doing and all of this stuff here. I was the man, the person that you call. I was the person that's it. And so, but there were certain rules I would never break. I would not break rules. And one of the rules is that because we restrain kids in our school system, and you can't restrain by yourself. You have to be able to have two or more when you're doing that. So I would never do that. I never broke that rule. And so when he came into the room, and he was out and he was manic, I would have him, and then I would hold him in a safety embrace. And I realized that my safety embrace was just a hug from behind to make sure keeping pressure on them. And I didn't recognize that pressure was actually working. So the stuff that I was using before was never working enough to calm this young man down. And see, his manics would last the whole day. And so what ended up happening is that the young man, one day as I'm talking to him, because I'm trying to be this stoic brother and saying, calm it down. But this one time I said, I need you to calm down. And I said, what did I say? And he says, I need to calm down. He heard me. Am I listening to him? I learned I was never listening to that young man. I never was listening to him. And then when I started listening to him, what was all day manics, I got it down to 22 minutes.
Oh, wow.
But then after that, I learned later on, it was never he was born with a behavior disorder. It was because of the tumor.
Oh, man.
Right. So where it comes from, here it is this whole time. I'm the man. I'm this brother. I'm handling the situations. And this entire time, this young boy was going through some real stuff, and I missed it until I started listening. But then by then, it was too late. So now here it is. We got to fight to keep this young boy alive. So I contacted Chadwick Boseman. My little sister, she performs on Broadway. She's a Tina Turner. So if y'all seen Tina Turner throw her head off, that was viral. That was her. And so she knew Chad. And what she did, she contacted, and he said, yeah. And he came in, and his brother, he did every single thing that I asked and more. So he went above what was asked. So this man that's why I would say we not cool. We weren't like that, but he was my friend because I saw what he did. I saw the work that he did. And so because of that, it was a good lesson in life. That's where my foundation came from. My foundation of how I work with kids now and work with moms and work with everybody. Shut up and listen. And so when I tell everybody, I say, you want to sit in, you want to be the best of mentoring. Stop talking and ask questions. And be okay with be okay with the answer. Be patient and keep on going until you succeed. Don't quit. If you're patient enough, you will succeed. You just have to be patient enough. That's the lesson.
Oh wow. That is that is a deep telling story there.
Yeah. They put me in my
Can you share a memorable experience where you helped someone through mentorship?
Oh gosh, yeah. How many? I have to find one. My earliest, which goes back to my first year of, I'll say that's my first mentorship to see how well to see was when I was working at that summer camp, and it was on the last day, and so there was a lot of boys that came from a group home, and the boys at the group home, they were like brothers. They took care of each other, and I remember that when they were getting on the bus on the last day, they all stuck their hand out the window saying, "Mr. Love, Mr. Love," and they reaching their hands out and they said, "You all right, man?" And they said, "You all right, Mr. Love, Mr. Love, you all right?" I'm the dance teacher in a youth sports camp. So I didn't think I was doing it all like that. Right. But but yeah, but I realized that they was just happy that somebody was taking the time. That was my first bright, the light bulb that went on. Like, dude, you impacted somebody. And so that let me know, okay, there is value here. There is. Mm-hmm. So mentorship, you do it right, you're going to feel your value.
How do you tailor your mentorship approach to different individuals?
How can you repeat the question?
How do you tailor your mentorship approach to different individuals?
It depends on there's a whole lot. That's where questions come in. Mm-hmm. But I had to go to school. I had to go and use my experience, the training I have, so it's detailed on this particular types of what a child is going through. So I have to understand. So you got neurodivergent kids, which is basically where they struggle on socialization. But then you have those kids that sit there and struggle with anger issues. Those are completely two different strategies that you have to use. The hardest part is never the kid. It's always the most difficult is working with parents, the adults, because the adults are setting they're set with thinking, okay, well, these are the answers. And definitely the parents who have the highest egos are the hardest because they think they figured out the problem. And then what they're saying is that we're assigning you to do this particular job. No, you're not. You're not assigning. I let them know. No, you're not. No. This is not Texas Roadhouse. This is not. No, you're not assigning nothing. But it depends on how they push. So it's how do you. So if they come to me like that, then I say no, it's not. I sit there and say, let me explain and let me show you how you're a part of the problem. So and this is experience, data. I can pull it from everybody, but just listen to a person who's been working for thousands of kids with 2.5 decades study in, I always have to go and throw that to some parents, and I always say, I just want to let you understand, this is a brother who also is international. So I worked around the world. You're not going to find too many of them like me. Now, if you want to go back over there, I can tell you how long it's going to help you and why it's not working for you. I will let you know those things. Mm-hmm. But if you really want to help your child, if you're really ready for that, it's time for us to work. Now, it's up to you whether you're going to work or not. And so, but that's with families who are dealing with kids who are having, period. But yeah, that's the deal. So it's just that letting them understand this is not Texas Roadhouse. This is not a restaurant. No, you don't order here. That's not what you do. What we do is I'm a service for you to make sure that your life becomes peaceful and your child comes to be peaceful.
So what advice do you give to young people looking for guidance?
Communication, how to communicate. So it's definitely where let's talk about how you communicate what you're feeling. But at the same time, let's recognize what you're feeling. Let's put in place of what's going to trigger you. Or so if a kid has low self-esteem, let's put you in a program to where we can start making you feel better. And because a lot of times people thinking, well, I'm going to speak and I'm going to tell this kid and I'm going to tell him, no, you're like how we watched the movie The Help when Viola sits there and tells the good girl, you're smart, you're important, you're kind. Well, that doesn't work too much well when you got a 14-year-old. So what we need to do is we need to go and figure out, okay, well, what's going on for this child, that the strategy that we need to use. So for this child, if you got confidence issues, what's happened for you to sit there and just, because if you don't have dad around, then you didn't have a mentor to teach you how to be confident about yourself and success. But you may have had a dad around, and the dad has ignored you and been abusive and neglecting you, and you're like, okay, well, I'm never good enough for my dad. So that type of stuff can happen. So let's figure this out. So let's figure out where your confidence is hit, and let's work on that. So if a kid doesn't know how to communicate, that's going to mess with their confidence. So let's practice on communication. They were trying to get friends and they don't know how to get friends. Let's practice on how to get friends. So, if they're emotional and crying all the time, well, let's find out why you're sitting there, you're crying. But that doesn't mean I rule out a therapist. I'm for therapists. I'm for psychiatry. I'm for all of those things. Counselors, I am 100%. I work with them. I am for them 100%. There is no replacing them. I'm just an added service with them. That's what I am.
Mm. So how do you stay inspired and continue learning as a mentor?
When I succeed in working with a child and family, when you see that, okay, it's that spark, not so much in the child, but when you see that spark in the parent or parents, when you see that, when you see that parent actually sits there and goes and says, I never thought about that. I never knew. When you sit here and you get those, that's the best compliment, is when a parent sees, I did not think of that. I didn't know that. Really? You know what? Yeah. And then next thing you know, we just lost a whole hour of conversation because of opening a door. So that is the best reward, because now here's the beautiful part of that reward, is that now this parent can go to another parent, and now they can teach that parent what the strategies they're using. So that's why I say I don't have it to where I teach a parent so that they can be with me and then disappear. How I know I've done the job is when they start talking to somebody else and they're able to help somebody else with what they've learned from me.
Mm-hmm. So what impact has mentorship had on your own life?
Oh, I'm way better father. Way better father. My house has, so everybody can understand, this ain't just the guy who's talking. I got 5 kids in my house, ranging from 2 to 16. So yeah.
Oh.
Right. So let's make sure to just say, nah. This ain't a brother. Right. I'm not just trying to sell you nothing. No, this is authentic. Yes, this is. I have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old. I have 2 14-year-olds and a 16-year-old. Nah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, Lord,
exactly. And between girls and boys. And the whole idea is they all they all have different personalities. And the whole idea is that I give myself grace to make mistakes, but I give myself, okay, now that you made them, you know how to fix it. So now we got to put this in place. So now we got to go and say, okay, wait a minute. If you about to sit here and you done got chewed your child out, and don't get me wrong, my children sat here and they've done something real raunchy. Oh yeah. Oh, they about to get the business. But what I do is I say, but I don't stop it there. So if I sit there and like it doesn't happen, but let's say something happens where one of my kids sit there and go and throw something in the room across the house, and like a glass, and throws it because they're angry. This never happened, so I don't want people to think that, but just in case it happens, I would sit there and I'd be like, you have lost your everlasting mind, and now you about to get medieval up in here. But it doesn't just stop there. Now we got to go through the process now of trying to get you under control. So now you got to do a little bit of work, but it doesn't stop there. Now I got to take you for walks. So you and I got to go walking. We got to go do bonding now. I got to go and find out what got you angry. How did I miss that you got so angry that you threw something across the room? So you got the consequences. So we're going to go through that restitution process of the consequence. But as a father, I now have my restitution to go and find out what's going on. Why did I miss that my child was gonna pop off like this? So now I got to go in, now I got to go and spend time. Now I got to go and say, hey y'all, I'm gonna have to cancel this here because I got to go see what's going on with my child. I have to go and see. So if I feel like my child is showing some type of depression, if I feel the sense it, all right, now I got to go and we got to go do something. Hey, come on down here. Tell me how your day was. I feel that you need some of my attention. Come here, let me give you a hug. Yeah, I just want to tell you I love you. What I do? Because I love you. That's it. That's all. Now get out of my face. You know, just one of the things. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, you know, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, because I think the bond is what makes it so much better, is because they understand, you understand, and so it makes the communication that much easier, that much flower. It makes it that much better.
So, but don't get me wrong. So that's why I tell everybody, I don't have the problem you going off. You know, your child doing something stupid, then yeah. And I say stupid. No, I don't mean, oh, let's just be understanding. No. If you say your child did something stupid, no, your child did something stupid. But the fact of the matter is that what's the work that we're going to do to fix this? What are we going to do to make sure that that child doesn't do that again? What is it that you missed? You know, did you miss anything? Are you sure you didn't miss anything? So let's make sure on that there. So let's question. Let's not be afraid to question our actions as long with our child's actions.
Mm-hmm. So how do you encourage mentees to overcome obstacles?
Don't take it too personal. You know, mentees. I'm saying, wait. How mentees? Sorry, mentors, mentees. First of all, I teach them how to accept the consequence, because that's the number one thing. If you can teach a child to accept consequence and understand the consequence, then, and you notice the word that I say, I got punishment and there's consequence. I don't use too much of the word punishment, because punishment means I'm going to hit you and then that's it. Consequence means I'm going to hit you, but we're going to work through this out. So this is where my fault is. So I have no problem. Consequence means I have to go in. I have to include myself. So if I got to go and tear your behind up, I got to include myself in this. Now I got to go and say, why did I tear your behind up? Did I tear your behind up because I'm angry? So am I taking my anger out on you? So I have to go and I cannot leave myself out of the consequence. I have to be present in it. Consequence, you're present in whatever it is that you're doing with your child. Punishment, I'm sending you on off and I'm gonna let you deal with that, and you on your own. So isolation. So that's the point.
And so what resources do you recommend for those seeking mentorship?
Seeking to be a mentor, or looking for, or they're looking for their child to be a mentor for their child. Which one you mean?
They're looking to be mentored.
Okay, that's very, very difficult, because it's a case-by-case basis. But I would say usually, so let's go with single parents, especially single moms. I would definitely say create an environment of where you have mentorships. Barbershops. So your child goes to barbershops. That's a great environment for mentorships. That's one of the most positive places for Black men, period. That's number two. The number one positive place for Black men is church. So the whole idea is that you go into church. You sit here. I always suggest it. I don't push God on anybody, but what I do say is that if you go with historics and how to sit there and what came with church. So if you're not going to go into the sanctuary, their churches put together programs. There's always going to ask you and make you and demand you for. You don't never see too many kids getting fights in church. Why? Because there's an expectation that you have in church. So there's always, if you see kids that's getting ready to go and get in the fight, what you gonna see? You're gonna see everybody. You're gonna see the entire congregation come in to stop that situation. And they're not gonna say, hey, you can't get yourself together. No, they're gonna say, young man, come on, let's go ahead. Let's talk about it. And we can pray about it. So everybody's gonna come in with that love and support. So that's the point of why I push that narrative. If it ain't gonna be church, at least go and get to some type of community, something that's gonna be community, a consistent community situation. I know they say the Girls and Boys Club. You can have those types of clubs that can join in. You have multiple things, but that does not mean. So when I say even church, that doesn't mean just church. Barbershops, church, parks, programs. have a friend, develop a lifelong relationship. Teach your child how to have a friend. That's one of the things that you want to do. Teach your child how to have a friend. Teach your child how to have a friend. That's one of the things. We taught our children how to be about themselves, but we don't teach our children how to be friends. And so children don't know how to be friends. So we've learned how to go and teach them how to defend themselves, but we haven't taught them how to be friends.
So let's I'm gonna ask you this question about community. When we talked, you was telling me about some of the things that you did in the community and some of the organizations that you worked with while working in the community. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we work. Right now we work with the TD Jakes Foundation. I'm trying to get a little bit more working with them. As a matter of fact, I worked with the judicial system, so I've been to court for helping out with parents. There's a lot of experience. I've worked with we worked with prison release. So we worked in where parents who just been freed from prison, or they've been freed from a little bit from prison. They want just to learn better parenting. Work with churches, but I also work with summer camps because I'm gonna be helping out summer camps. I work in businesses. As a matter of fact, one of the best, especially if your child is neurodivergent, which is just socialization, which is other words, they love just working with technology, computers and everything. Then Code Ninja. So like we say, those types of places, I work with them. There is under the Catos, they're very good people. They are. So I don't mean to plug them in, but I'm just saying that these are great organizations. Boys and Girls Club, I've had opportunity to work with them. Schools, they are amazing. Oh gosh, it's so many. It's so many of organizations and people that I get a chance to work with.
But with those organizations, did they all have different missions, or did they all have a commonality that they did to help to build and work in those communities? And what were some of those things?
So each one of them have a difference. So that's why I pulled up, like when I saying like Code Ninja, they teach you coding. They give the child a future, but they also give it to where a child in socialization area. So the kids are sitting with each other as they're being able to go through the coding. They're because I don't know enough about the computers, but I am the behaviorist when I come in there. So I help out with, but in there it's just anxiety and socialization. So I work with them on teaching them those things. But when you're going to say, like when I go to the judicial system, they want to have it to where parents are more successful with just the child not going to jail. And so now when I go in, my strategy is to help the parent understand the child's behavior or understand their teaching strategies. So it depends on which organization that I'm dealing with.
So let's I told you when I talked to you as well, we do Black History 365. Mm-hmm. And you told me that Frederick Douglass was the most influential Black history historian to have an effect on your life and your career.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, why is Frederick Douglass such an important figure in your life and career?
He's the man. This dude, he was a slave, and he made it out of the country. He came back. During the worst period for hundreds of years, he thrived in the worst period of Black America. So the hardest parts of Black America, this man made it through, as well as he wrote a book. So he's educated, which was against the law. He debated and spoke with, people whites that did not see him as equal, and if I'm correct, he ended up becoming He did some teaching, if I'm correct. If I'm correct, it's been a while, so sorry. But if I'm correct, he was also about women's rights. So he had this guy was ahead of the game, way ahead of the game, and he was very influential during a period when he should not have been. And here it is, the because of him, definitely where we're now able to have certain freedoms. And his basic statement is definitely what I live by, which is without struggle, there is no progress. So, right. So, and he lived that, and him and Harriet Tubman, them two, they're on Mount Rushmore. Yeah, put them up there. They should be up there. They definitely should be up there. They're founding father and mama. They definitely, like, they weren't playing. So, and we're talking about the worst. This is the worst time for us, and they were able to get it done.
Yes, work together as a team.
Yes.
So how has his legacy influenced your approach to entrepreneurship?
Keep pushing. Without struggle, there is no progress. So it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be. So it's supposed to be difficult when I go and I approach somebody. It's supposed to be difficult for me to go and influence, to try to influence a parent, to let them know that it's okay. It's supposed to be a struggle to sit here and go and say, hey, mom or dad. Like one dad, he called me. He chews me out. He says, man, what have you done to my child? My child will not shut up. And I was saying, well, you hired me to help your child, teach your child how to talk. So I'm sorry. Nah. You paid for what you got.
Right.
But yeah, it was difficult. The influence. So it's supposed to be. I don't take it for granted. I don't want when it starts getting easier, now it's time to hand that family off to somebody, because now you're just a normal family now. I'm not aiming for you to your problems be solved. What I'm aiming for is for you to just learn what normal families are.
So what lessons from Douglas's life do you apply to your mentorship work?
Definitely, education is the key, and you don't have to have the background like you think you do. You don't have to go to college to be educated. You go to college, that's fine. If you want to go to college, you want to be like the Real World TV show. You go there to learn the real world. It's not so much that you go there to sit in and go and get a degree and then run out into the world. That's not how it works. So the fact of the matter is that you can sit here and you can go somewhere and just get yourself educated, listen, all of those things. Majority of what it is in my experiences and everything did not come from my degrees. It didn't. I have the opportunity to get an honorary doctorate in for child. Excuse me, but anyway, excuse me, y'all. But it's the whole idea is that I have the opportunity to get an honorary doctorate degree. I don't want that. I want the work, because I need to go and do the studies to learn more. So that's the point. But then again, I may get it. But if it's because I do have an opportunity where I may be able to do the work while I'm getting it. So if that's the case, then I can handle that, because it's about the work. It's not about me getting the doctorate. It's the work that I need. And then after that, I get the doctorate, to get that title. Because I was just young when I was their age. There's no way I would believe that I'm gonna be a doctor. I sucked in school. I was awful. I was terrible. And I was one of the kids. Yeah, I was terrible. Yes. So who I am now compared to, man, please. Yeah. If I get a doctorate and my family be like, he got a doctorate. Well, you couldn't pass nothing. What? Let me see who these people are. So
how does his advocacy for education and empowerment resonate with your mission?
because I'm a black man just like he is. And I love being a black man just like he is. And it's not easy. It is not easy for black men. It isn't. We are not, we are struggling, and we're number one and number two struggling in so much that it is that when you become a black man, we are America's Spartan warriors. We are the ones that when you're born, you're going to be born straight into a hostile environment. You are behind enemy lines, as Charles Dutton says. You are behind it. You have to learn everything. I tell everybody this, and I say this to everybody, that a young black male has only 12 years to become a man. That's it. And after that, the consequences of life are now going to hit him as if he's an adult. That means that he can be killed. He can be shot by a police officer for having a toy gun in 3 seconds. And that officer will get off. So you can sit here and there's 6 officers can throw you at 14 years old on the ground and all of them beat you in your face and nothing will happen to them. You will sit here and you will grow up where here it is, you will be told you're not needed. You're not needed. There's no value of you. You're trifling, everything. You're going to hear all the worst things that you can as you're growing up. And then as soon as you finish, everybody going to say, be a man. Be a man. You didn't sit there, you didn't have any male figures. So like, be a man. And so now you got to sit and you got to learn God. You got to learn all of these things. So you have to learn this stuff here. And because we're 1/3, not 1/3, but because we're
according to the Constitution, we're a 5th of a man.
There we go. Right. So we're a 5th of a man. And it took a rule to say that we are human beings. Like, so for me, the insult to me is that we got to have a 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment to sit here and go and say that we are men. Now, you go into the school, is there any rule that says that, all these kids are equal? No. But the fact of the matter is that we need this to say that you are a man. We have to have a rule to say that, hey, you're free. So as a black man, you sit here and you already being thrown against the wolves, and you only got 12 years to get yourself together. And after that, which we already know is impossible. But the fact of the matter is that it don't matter. You still got to learn. 1/3 of us is go to jail. We already know that's inhumane. Why is 1/3 of black men going to jail? Are black men born to be violent? Everybody's going to say no. Well, then why are 1/3 of them in jail? So what's the program? Where are the programs at? That's because here it is. This is how everybody has perceived. And this is the expectation that everybody has of us. So yeah, I love being a black man because you can't do this job. You can't do this job unless you understand it.
Well, there's a lot to be said that we'll do that on another show because I just love what you're just talking about right now, but that's another show because all of that's got some, it's got a lot of stuff in that.
Right.
What aspects of Douglas's leadership inspire you the most?
He stood against all odds. That's exactly what I like to do. I walked into, I'll use definitely. I walked into I went with a family to court. And when we got there, it was scary. I was not expecting for the plan that everybody had. The defense as well as the prosecution. And the defense and prosecution, their plan was to make mom look incompetent so that they could sit here and that boy would be put in a position where they would be able to start making choices on him. And what happened is that when I sat in defense and she's giving bad advice to mom. And I said, ma'am, I as a behavior specialist, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. And she sits there and she pushes back on me to telling me what, no, I've been doing this for so-and-so, and then dismisses us to hold on to the son. And then after that, the prosecution pulls me into another room and says to me, hey, does mom sit there? What do you think about mom? And asking me these questions about mom. And I had to go and explain to him about mom's actions or why she's doing what it is that she's doing, or the strategies that's working for the son that we're putting in place. We go into the courtroom, and as we go into the courtroom, I walk behind them. They sit up at the desk right in front of the judge. I sit at the bench behind. And when I'm walking in there, the bailiff, one of the police officers, he looks at me like I'm a perp, just like okay, well, you're a problem coming in here. I got on my suit and tie now, and his brother looking at me like I'm a problem. And so I sit down, and the judge says, "All right, you all introduce yourselves." And everybody introduces themselves at the table. The prosecutors, everybody was in there, and she says, "Who is this? Sir, in the back, can you introduce yourself?" And so I stand. I say, "Yes, ma'am. I'm Kendrick Love. I'm the family's behavior specialist." She says, You're a behavior specialist?" "Yes, ma'am, I am." "Oh, wow. Okay." And then says, "Well, thank you so much for being here." And then after that, the same police officer looks at me, smiles, and shakes my hand and says, "Thank you for the work that you're doing." Yes. Then after that, I testify for the family. And then and then after I testify for the family, I sit back and I prep the family for court. So mom gave all of the documents. She knew how to talk to the judge. Son talked to the judge, and then after that, the judge sits there and says, "Very good." And she says, "Okay, well, Mr. Love, do you have a business card? Can you leave it to one of the ladies down there at the other side?" I get a letter. Mom gets a letter, and the letter says, "Thanks to Mr. Love's testimony and the type of testimony that I did." And they wrote the testimony that I did says, "Thanks to his testimony, it was able to see that, Mom, you're actually having a success." So it changed the outcome in the direction that they already had planned. So I walked into the lion's den, or I got a chance to feel the dragon's breath. I was able to still succeed helping a family out when the entire system has already put them up for
persecution.
Exactly. That is my Frederick Douglass story. That brother left a violent country, came back after the violence that it had been doing to him and his family, and he came in and he decided to educate those same system, the same people, and made an outcome and changed the entire country. Correction. Sorry. Let me correct that. He changed the world.
Yes.
His influence changed an entire globe.
Mm-hmm.
And what was he? At one point, he was just a slave, a ninja, a low-level 3/5 of a man. So if he's a 3/5 of him, and if a 3/5 of a man can do this type of work, then what can a whole man do?
So how do you incorporate Black history into your work?
Oh no, it's there. I let everybody know. I walk in, I got white friends and stuff like that. They know, oh, he's a Black man. We're gonna be celebrating Juneteenth in our house. So it's definitely, we got Juneteenth t-shirts. I don't celebrate too much of Independence Day. It's just that this is my holiday. This is my family's holiday. This is the thing. Independence Day was not celebrated for us. No, we didn't get that. So no. But here's the thing. What I do let everybody know is I let them know this is. So when you say Black history, when they had a problem with Thing taking his knee during the games, I say, hold on a second. Well, military men have died for this country, so you can go and take a knee. I say, well, hold up. You need to learn your history. The first person to die for this country was a Black man. Look up Crispus Attucks. He's the very first person to die that set off the Revolutionary War. No. The very first person to die for this country was a Black man. Take your knee, brother.
So what do you think young people today can learn from Frederick Douglass?
Keep pushing. And yes, without struggle, there is no peace. Without struggle, there is no peace. So I'm going to say without struggle, there is no progress. So that means that, sorry, if you think that this is supposed to be easy, no. When we're working through our strategies, if you thinking if I told you that this was easy, my apologies. This won't be easy. But when you finish, I'm going to show you your success. Every single time that you come to me, I'm going to push and I'm going to show you how successful you've been. When you're able to go and talk to your parents and go and express yourself, I'm going to show you how successful that is. If you're able to go while you're angry, and instead of you threw that jar across the room, you decided to go and sit that jar in the kitchen and the sink and walk out that door because you was angry, that's success, brother. Mm-hmm. So you went out there and you yelled F you and all of that when you was outside and screaming and everything, instead of going to throw stuff in your house, that's a win. Let me show you how successful you are, step by step.
So how do you honor his legacy in your daily life?
Gosh, that just love being a Black man, love Black women, love Black churches, love my Black community. I could be out of the country. My lady right now, she's always saying that we can get back out of the country. And trust me, I was very highly successful when I was out of the country. I came back because I wanted to make sure to start helping out in the community. That's the only reason. Let me make sure. There's several reasons, but that's one of the main reasons, is that the work that I'm doing is actually needed. So, and I'm able to I'm actually being helpful. I'm actually succeeding. So we're actually doing it. So that's the thing for me. It goes with me. It's my badge. When I was almost shot by the police trying to help a young lady, it was, yeah, that comes with the job. But the fact of the matter is I'm still able to help her. We're still going to be working together. Those types of things. It comes with just being a Black man. And the thing I do believe and I am trusting is that I will make a difference, and we will be able to have it to where Black people be able to function differently. That is what my Nobel Peace Prize will represent. You did make a change in America, like Frederick Douglass.
And what books or speeches by Douglass have had the greatest impact on you?
Gosh, you done pulled me definitely. That's so long I cannot remember. I have the book. Because what exposed me to Frederick Douglass was a book. It was 100 and something facts about Black history. And that's where I got hit. I knew about Frederick Douglass then, but it was the facts that they had in the book about him that brought me to doing more work on research on Frederick Douglass. I cannot remember the book. Was it the biography? I cannot remember. It's because this was like probably about over 15 years ago when I read this book. This was a long time ago, and I think it's even longer than that.
I got a couple of his books too. I can't remember the title of the ones that I have, but I know one of them is an autobiography.
Right, and it's not autobiography. If I think that's the one I read.
And Israel. I don't know who wrote that book, but I will say that there's a lot of intrigue to it because it's like the details in the book are basically like they're Frederick Douglass. And so, and I just know that it's inspiring, as you say, because to know that he and Harriet Tubman actually were able to work together, and it's like they had this telepathy as she continued to come down south and come back up north, and she just bringing all all those people, and when they get there, and then he's actually teaching them, showing them, and having them to learn what it is to be free and to do what you have to do.
That's A+ rating of being a Black person in America. That is the best of the best. When you have all this adversity and you are able to sit here and go in and still make this happen, and then you did such a great job that we were able to go and build a town directly after slavery and be that highly successful. Oh, no. Because that's one thing I like. Because I always tell everybody, I'm like, okay, with Black Wall Street, that was terrible. But that's before they dropped them bombs. How well were we doing? And how
that's
much
just the thing. Because you're doing well without them.
Exactly. That was the point. Independent. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against white people, so I don't want to think that about anybody, especially I don't.
It's not about that.
Right, but I wanted to be where independence. That's what made us excel. Is that we were able to function and make our communities, and we did it on our own. We were handling it. So
we'll be back there in the next 20 years. I can promise you that.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll be there in the next 20 years. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that I agree.
If you could have a conversation with Frederick Douglass, what would you ask him?
Wow, I never thought about that. I would ask him, do you think I did enough? Do you think I did enough?
Ooh, you know, that's a rhetorical question because I'm sure that you will never get that answer.
I will never get that answer.
Because there's just so much that you can never say you did enough.
Right. So when the Nobel Prize, when I get nominated, that's when I can say yes. Until then, my answer will always be no.
Wow. So in closing, what are some of the things you'd like for our audience to know? Whether tell them about your services, what you do, what you want them to know, how they can connect with you on social media, how they can connect with you on a website. What is that you'd like to leave?
Yeah, sure. What I would definitely love for everybody, first things first, is that I'm human. You're human. Every one of us is human. So if you need help, come to me. There is no coming to say, okay, it's judging you. There isn't. There is not at all. If you're a parent and you're coming to me, then there isn't any judging, because I understand one of the most sensitive things for a parent is to ask for help. That is very difficult to say that, okay, my parenting, I need help with my parenting. So that's the point of why it's very difficult. And that's why I make sure to understand that. And so there isn't any pointing fingers. There isn't any of those things. So all of the insecurities or all of the negative thoughts that anybody would have, go ahead and put them out the window. But let me earn your respect. Let me earn what I'm saying. I don't want to be giving this, even though I'm saying this. Just come and let's have a conversation. I put together parenting classes so to make sure I'm not parenting support classes. So when we come in, I teach a little bit of understanding on the lessons of a strategy or understanding the behavior or something of that nature. But then after that, we talk about successes, we talk about the failures, the strategies, all of those things. So that you're not alone. Because again, this is what my point is to create, is an environment where we parents can be vulnerable and be able to say, here's the strategies that we use. So I aim for the parents just as much as I aim for the child, because the parent is far much more needed than of the intervention than the child in most cases. So that's the thing. If you want to get in contact with me, it's easy to contact me. It's my first name and last name.com, KendrickLove.com. First name, last name, KendrickLove.com. And again, it's not because I wanted to be Kendrick Love. It was just like, I got to figure something out. Just put Kendrick Love until we go back. And it just stuck that way. So that was the point of it. But my lady, she works with me. She's a teacher. So she does even tutoring. She's been doing teaching. She's taking a break from teaching. So now what she does is she does the managerial parts of the house. So emails most likely will come from her. Text messages will come from me. And we work very well at that. She's understanding. She understands a lot. She sees a lot of things. She's learning a lot from me, watching what I do. I have a very high success rate, but let's make sure my success rate isn't overnight. Modifying a child's behavior is not an overnight thing. It isn't. Now, some families, all you need is a little tweaking, but some families, it's a marathon. And so that's the point, is that I want parents to understand that you're not alone, not even close. And there's a world out there that I can show you. You have no idea of what type of environment of behaviorism comes with me and what I can show you. Just give me a try, or at least come to the parenting class. or watch me on, because I have platforms on social media platforms on YouTube, TikTok, IG, and Facebook. And you can just look those things up saying Kendrick Love Behavior Consulting, LLC. You go put that in, all of those will pop up. You can look me up easy on internet, all of that stuff. And and before you say, well, I don't know if you know, no, I most likely have experience working with your situation. I've dealt with so much. So.
And so I'd like to thank you. And before I get into closing, I just want to tell you, I would love to have you back. Will you come back?
Of course.
We would definitely love to have you back.
Sure. No problem. No problem at all. I thank you. I thank you for the invite. I really did. I enjoyed myself. Thank you for letting me run my mouth. So.
Well, for all of those of you that were out there, that's out there listening and watching at this moment, I want to thank Kendrick for sharing his experiences, his knowledge, and the things that he knows that can help you with your kids or even helping yourself when it comes to behaviors. Mm-hmm. He's a specialist in several different areas,
yes,
gambits of what it is to be a behaviorist. So if you guys know that there's something that's a little off, there's something that's a little off kilter, but you don't know how to deal with that, I'm going to recommend that you guys make sure that you try to get in touch with him, because if you need the help is what you should get.
Yeah.
But what we should also take from the things that he just mentioned to us tonight is that when it comes to behaviors, there are several things that can be going on, but if you don't know and you're just out of sorts, 9 times out of 10, you need to go and find out what's going on and get that checked. Let's get that taken care of before it gets to be too late. It could be fatal. You don't know.
Right.
So for those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, if you have not yet subscribed, I do appreciate if you would lend me your support. And please subscribe. Hit the notifications button. Every time we have a show, you'll be notified and you can watch each and every show live. Or you're able to go back to the YouTube channel and you can watch all of the shows that we have recorded up to this point, shall I say. And season 3 is getting even better than the first 2. So we've got a long ways to go. We've got a lot of content that we're going to be bringing to you guys. But also, as I started the show and I mentioned, as we're coloring these conversations on America's canvas, these conversations are to help you, each and every individual out there, including those in the underserved and marginalized communities that need some motivation and some inspiration. That is why we do this. We do this because we're building communities, piece by piece by piece, around this whole entire country. So please tune in to America in Black and White, where you can get the best of all experiences that you're looking for in order to make your life that much better. We are that resource. If you can't find it, we will help you get it. And just another note, for those of you that were watching on Tuesday and we had the technical difficulties with Dr. Neely, that show will take place on Monday. So please tune in and watch that show as well as our normal Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday shows. I want to thank you again, Mr. Love, for not only for what you do, but for lending us your time, your presence, and your expertise, and that I'm sure that has reached and touched somebody that's watching this show. And so you all have a wonderful weekend. I want to thank you for tuning in, and tune in again next week for America in Black and White, as we color more conversations on the canvas of America. Have a good